Shifting future, shattered dreams. End of times ain't what it seems.
Hello, friends. This is Sam Chaney, returning for Weaponized News. Today, July 8th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. We're back in war. We're on day 130 of the Iran war. I should have never taken it off the title. Should have just stayed in it. We're bombing Iran right now. It's all quite horrific. We got all the horrific details. The back and forth from yesterday's bombing campaign. It's ongoing. Looks like this is going to be a prolonged war now. And then, of course, Iran has to respond back to the ongoing attacks today, right now, and so on. Things continue to escalate. NATO 3.0 wraps up. Russia's pretty pissed off. We're going to take a look at that. We got economic news, flock surveillance camera news, a little public health news, a little more Epstein news, other geopolitical news, and they're leveling Lebanon and Gaza, ongoing, bombing refugees in tents. That's our greatest ally here in America. See a few people coming online right now. Shout out to Mac on the YouTube. Shout out to Fat Bob on the Rumble. Let's get to all of this madness for you today on day 130 of the Iran war, tragically enough. Tragically enough. Okay, let's take a look at this day in history. On this day of July 8th, we go back to the year 1741. Theologian Jonathan Edwards preaches perhaps the most famous of all American sermons, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, in Connecticut, part of the, quote, Great Awakening. What happened? On this day, 1776, reading of the Declaration of Independence, Colonel John Nixon gives the first public reading of the Declaration of Independence to an assemblage of citizens in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 1792, on this day, France declares war on Persia. Damn Persians, those damn Iranians are loco. They're scum. They're scum, I tell you. Or that's Trump, excuse me. On this day, 1797, we saw the first U.S. Senator William Blount of Tennessee expelled by impeachment. Now we're looking for signs of life from Mitch McConnell. On this day, 1835, the Liberty Bell cracks again in Philadelphia, likely while tolling for George Washington's birthday, creating the famous fracture that prevents it from ringing today. Here's the Liberty. And isn't that symbolic? I'd say our freedom and liberty is very much cracked here now in the year 2026 here in America, on this anniversary of the Liberty Bell cracking in 1835. On this day in 1870, U.S. Congress authorizes registration of trademarks. On this day in 1892, crazy, American Psychological Association, organized in Clark University, Massachusetts. Crazy day. 1896. On this day, Orator William James Bryant's Cross of Gold speech at the Democrat convention in Chicago. And of course, he was talking about monetary policy, the gold standard, sound money, and the like there. On this day, 1913, Alfred Carlton Gilbert's patent of the erector set is issued, one of the most popular toys of all time, the erector set, 1913. On this day in 1947, reports are broadcast that a UFO has crash landed in Roswell, New Mexico, the famous Roswell, New Mexico UFO crash on this day, 1947. On this day, 1969, U.S. troop withdrawal begins from Vietnam. 1972, hey, I thought we were in a Cold War. We got it all out. The Reds are going to get us. The damn commie Russians. Wait a minute. On this day, 1972, in the height of the Cold War, the United States sells grain to the Soviet Union for $750 million. Huh? Why are we helping out those dirty commies? On this day in 2019, they call him U.S. financier Jeffrey Epstein is indicted on further charges of sex trafficking of minors. They should more accurately just call him Rothschild super spy. On this day in 2021, global known death toll from the bats passes 4 million, equal to all deaths in battle since 1982. 4 million, they tell us, on this day in 2021, the bats got, right? And then you guys remember the reports. A dude fell off his ladder because bats were circling. They counted it as a bat death. Motorcycle wrecks, they were bitten by a bat, and that's another bat death. And we can go on and on and on, breaking down all of that data as we have at the time when it actually mattered. But call me skeptical of the 4 million called globally dead on this day due to the bat problem, 2021. Call me skeptical. And on this day in 2022, former Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, was assassinated. They whacked him, remember? Did they shoot him or stab him? Or both? I forget even now. But they whacked that dude. Former Prime Minister of Japan on this day. And then on this day in our civil liberties history, in 1986, Attorney General Meese releases the Porn Commission report. Yeah, and the government has, for a very long time, maybe since its founding, I don't know, but for a very long time, been just a bunch of degenerate, pervert, LGBTQ plus rainbow peoples in the shadows, in large majority in the closet. Anyhow, they get off on this type of perversion. I'm sure they did. In 1986, on this day, Attorney General Edwin Meese releases on this day the report of the Attorney General's Commission on Pornography. The commission was part of a Reagan administration's conservative social agenda, which included an attack on pornography. Announcing the release of the report, Meese stood under the statue Spirit of Liberty, with her bare breast fully displayed. Some comics referred to the picture as TNA, for tits and ass. The report is often referred to as the Meese Commission report. The report's very conservative position on issues stands in sharp contrast to the fairly liberal views of the early President's Commission on Obscenity and Pornography report released on October 24th, 1970. The earlier report opposed censorship of sexually oriented material and supported expanded sex education programs corrupting the youth, as per usual. All right, let's segue to the news here now. Here's as President Trump wraps up the 2026 NATO summit, one thing is abundantly clear: America is respected again on the world stage like never before. That's according to the White House, posted by the White House. And here's the wrap up from Trump. And like, I don't know, Trump's in his own little echo chamber there. The like 85, 90% of the world hates us now, probably even up to 95%. I don't know, but he has a bunch of paid off puppets tell him how great everything is.
Over the course of the past 2 days, I had a number of excellent discussions with other leaders at the summit and held productive bilateral meetings with essentially all of them. We had dinner last night, just about all of them were there. President Erdogan of Turkey, as well as President Zelensky, and he just came in, as you probably saw, had a little press conference, and also President al-Shara of Syria, who's doing an unbelievable job in unifying Syria. What a job he's doing. Syria was a mess with what happened with the previous government, you know that? Very dangerous place, and now it's just come together. He's done a fantastic job. People are talking about it. In every conversation, it was clear that America is back, and we're stronger and bigger and better than ever before. We have more jobs, as I said, than ever before. And we're respected again like maybe never before. We are so respected as a country.
Sure. I'm looking at the chat a little bit. I can't look at the chat, guys, because I got to get through all this news, but I'm just looking at the beginning of it. Shout out to Fat Bob. He says that I want more Lego videos, but there'll be more Lego videos. And then no Masonic hand sign from the guy on the right. Looked like they were throwing up some Masonic hand signs there. It never ends. They never miss a trick with these maniacs. Trump claims he personally blocked Turkey from entering the U.S. aardvark land war on Iran, on the Iranian side. During the NATO summit, Trump claimed that his personal diplomatic intervention single-handedly stopped Turkey from entering the war on the side of the Iranians, praising Erdogan's hospitality and touting Turkey's formidable million-strong armed forces. Trump asserted that Erdogan wanted to and was going to intervene on Iran's side due to his deep hostility toward aardvark land Milei, shadow president of America. Trump used the narrative of his supposedly war-preventing influence to justify rewarding Turkey, publicly dangling the return of advanced F-35 fighter jets and the lifting of defense sanctions, despite vocal, furious protests from Milei. The claims have sent shockwaves through the summit, triggering an immediate diplomatic fallout as aardvark land fiercely lobbies Washington against equipping a country it labels a volatile regional threat. You got Smoke Trick, you got Katz, you got Milei, all of them saying we're eyeing Turkey, right? I don't know how they square that circle, but who knows? We're going into a bunch of smaller wars that it looks like are going to just turn into a giant world war. India and Pakistan are going at it right now, bombing each other. Russia's very pissed off at Ukraine, at NATO, at America, so on and so forth. The genocides and massacres continue there in Lebanon and in Palestine. They're carrying out a genocide in the Sudan. We're bombing the hell out of Iran right now. It's just the world is, heading toward a major world war if we're not already in it. If we're not already in it with battles on all these different fronts and others as well. Those are the major ones I just listed. Continuing here, yesterday's strikes. We're bombing them right now, so I mean it's ongoing here now. But this is yesterday's strikes, according to the AP. U.S. launches new strike on Iran, revokes oil sales permit after 3 ships attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, not good. Not good at all. Where are we at here? How are we doing on our, let's see. Am I missing a feed? It feels like I'm missing a feed. Anyhow, we got Terry from the Philippines. Shout out, Terry. How you doing? All right. Here's Trump today. Says they're a little loco. They're a little crazy. They're scum. He's talking about Iran, not about Americans. Or maybe he's talking about MAGA. I don't know. It's hard to tell these days.
So when you say not a success, it's a tremendous success. The fake news likes to say how well they're doing. They're doing terribly. They have 350% inflation. When the war started, they had like 6%, 5%. They have, they want to make a deal, but they don't know how to make a deal, and then they go around shooting ships at night. I don't like that. You know, they're dealing with very fine people. They're dealing with Steve Witkoff. They're dealing with Jared Kushner and J.D. Vance, and they're dealing with Marco and Scott. They're dealing with great people, but I don't know. I think they're a little loco. They're a little crazy. But they told us they'd like to go to the funeral of a very a person who was killed a lot of people. Khomeini killed a lot of people over the years, and there for a long time. Don't forget, what we did should have been done 47 years ago. It could have been done any time within 40. This has gone on for. They were the bully of the Middle East, so they're a much different country now. In one day, all of their anti-aircraft things are gone. That doesn't mean they're not going to get a plane at some point, but all of it's gone. Everything's gone. Their leaders are gone. They had leaders, they're gone, and they had another set of leaders, they're gone. Now they have another set of leaders, they may be gone. Who knows? And you know what? I may be gone too, because I'm their number one target. It's out all over the place. I'm their number one, because they're scum. That's the way they act, and that's the way they've done it for 47 years. But I'm doing what's right for the country. I'm doing really what's right for the world. They have to be stopped. And they've killed thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. They killed 52,000 protesters over the last 3 months. So when you say we're not doing well, I think we're doing phenomenally well. Our military has been incredible. Plus we had a blockade. Did we have a blockade? Did you ever see a blockade work that way? You know, for you that said we're not doing well.
It's a complete and utter disaster. In reply to that language from Trump calling them scum, Iran's foreign minister Argachai said, addressing the civilized and courageous nation of Iran with derogatory language does not diminish its greatness. Iranians are known for their civility, culture, and strong moral values. We do not answer vulgarity with vulgarity, but with action, fearlessly and with great valor. Sad to say, the damn terrorist Iranians are a lot more statesman-like and adult than Trump is. We know it's all part of an act of his tough guy bully image, but still, it doesn't play when you're literally bombing people here now. We were supposedly having peace negotiations. Trump tells it like it is. We got a MAGA in the chat. Jim, do you know that when they're building the Greater North America, the Technate? So when you're cheering all this on, you're cheering on our region of one world government. Do you understand what you're cheering on there? I hope you do. Hope you understand that. More about Trump. To me, I think it's over. Yeah, it is over. I don't want to make a deal with them anymore. They're scum. They're led by sick people. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people, really. Complete and utter failures, Witkoff and Kushner, unless their job was to start a war. And it certainly appears that was their job. You heard it, but in that longer clip from Trump, but reiterating it again, he says, I'm number one on the kill list for Iran, but I don't really care because I'm doing my job and I'm doing it, I hope, better than anybody's ever done it. Oh, starting major wars? I don't know. We're getting there to a major world war, but yeah, we're getting there. Creating a global fuel crisis, a global famine. Yeah, it's doing pretty good, I would say. More from Trump. He says, I think more than anything else is I got to know them. He's talking about Iran. And I'm not sure I want to make a deal with them. We can play games, but I'm not sure I want to make a deal. Let's just finish the job. What is finish the job? He's threatening war crimes, attacking their civilian infrastructure, water desalinization plants, energy infrastructure, so on and so on. That's straight up war crime to attack civilian infrastructure unprovoked. Here now. Trump today claimed Iran's revolutionary regime killed 54,000 protesters at the start of the year, inflating the number from 40,000 figure he repeated through much of the U.S. Aardvark war to justify and build support for U.S. action. There's no evidence for either figure. Where's all the dead bodies? There is no evidence. HRANA, which has received U.S. funding, documented about 7,000 deaths, including many Iranian security and police. Iran puts the death toll just above 3,100 and says rioters killed civilians during protests that were overtaken by Aardvark land and U.S.-backed armed elements. I believe that's true. We had friggin' former CIA Director Mike Pompeo tweeting about how Mossad's on the ground right now in those protests, trying to engineer a color revolution. And you better believe that they'll whack a bunch of Iranians and blame it on Iran's government. And that's not to say Iran's government is any good either. I'm sure they whack plenty of civilians as well. But this whole 55,000 protesters killed by Iran, it's just, there's no evidence of it even being close to that. So he's literally just making up Orwellian level propaganda and lies, once again, coming out of both sides of Trump's mouth and his rear end. Sadly, another U.S. serviceman has been announced killed. Squadron commanding officer identified as Navy aviator killed in downed helicopter. Government lies to us, man. They lied, and they'll keep lying about the damage to our bases, that Iran should have never built their country around all our bases there in West Asia. They lied about the damage of our, and I still do believe the casualty numbers are higher, and they're lying about that as well as those injured and killed. But here's one, tragically enough, that is being formally recognized. Commander Gabriel Edwards vanished after his MH-60S Seahawk helicopter went down July 1st. He was missing for 4 days and then declared dead. So I'd count this as part of the Iran war. I don't know if they're going to count it as that or not. So we lost another U.S. serviceman there, Gabe Edwards, tragically enough. The circumstances surrounding the emergency landing are currently under investigation. They're going to make up whatever. And so that's a report out of the Navy Times. He is no longer with us, and I'm sure the government will make up some BS excuse about what it, or whatever to serve their agenda is how they're going to exploit this this dead seaman. Rest in peace there, Gabe Edwards. Continuing here, the IRGC claims it shot down a U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drone. This is in the last 24 hours. This was in the last 24 hours as these attacks are, we kicked them off yesterday and it's ongoing right now. They're in Iran. So NATO is basically a big money laundering, arms trafficking seminar, you could call it, meeting there. And so here's Trump. Just today at the summit, we announced $3 billion of new defense investments for U.S. companies. That's what's all about, fueling the war machine. We're in a wartime economy here now. They've said it a few times. Maybe America never will get the hint, but
we announced $3 billion of new defense investments with U.S. companies, and Lockheed Martin will establish a world-class Patriot missile sustainment facility, a big deal in Europe. They're given a tremendous incentive by Europe to do that. All goes to the benefit of us and Europe because they're getting the benefit.
It goes to the benefit of us. So the military-industrial complex is profiteering handsomely off this never-ending war with Russia, proxied via Ukraine, and it's truly disgusting. It truly, truly is. Here's U.S. CENTCOM. What was this? They posted this at 1:15 my time Pacific, so like what, 4 hours ago, something like that. The latest strikes here at the direction of the commander-in-chief. U.S. Central Command forces have started conducting additional strikes against Iran to further degrade their ability to threaten freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. The United States is holding Iran accountable for recent unjustified aggression against commercial shipping and civilian crews freely navigating a vital international waterway. So as it says in the Constitution, we're the police of the Strait of Hormuz, where they tell us none of American energy even goes through there. So there you go. Do we have any updates from U.S. Central Command? Let's see. Let me check that real quick. Again, that post was 4 hours ago. No updates from U.S. Central Command as of now. Molly Plufskins on the X posted this. So far this morning, Trump has declared the ceasefire over, threatened to commit war crimes against Iran, suspended trade with Spain, accused the Islamic Republic of Japan of launching 111 missiles, referred to Zelensky as President Putin, said he is number one on Tic Tacs, claimed prices are down on everything, suggested the United States should have carpet bombed Khomeini's funeral, mentioned taking over Karag Island, removed Syria from the state sponsors of terrorism list, praised China, Russia, and Turkey while disparaging NATO, tanked the markets. And that was just this morning. Wowzers. And there's video of a bunch of this, so it's just wowzers. Trump on Iran here. Posted this a few hours before we came on the air. This is in retribution for yesterday's bombing of ships by Iran. If it happens again, it will get much worse. I don't even believe they weren't even U.S. ships. But again, the Constitution says we're responsible for all maritime traffic in the world here now. Here's some images coming out. Yeah, U.S. forces are attacking southern Iran. A couple images here. Yeah, bombing the hell out of the joint. We have more reporting on Iran in the geopolitical section of the show. This continues to be extremely concerning. The 2027 NDAA section 224 that essentially merges our military with aardvark land. Let's hear now from Democrat Ro Khanna on it.
I am leading the fight to strip Section 224, which, believe it or not, integrates our military with Israel's military from the Defense Authorization Act. I led the charge to introduce this amendment during the Armed Services hearing. Now, the ranking member of the Armed Services Committee is also opposed to Section 224. As a senior member of the Armed Services Committee, I will be part of the conference between the House and the Senate. And my highest priority will be to strip this provision from that joint bill. We cannot integrate our military with Israel's and lose our sovereignty.
Well, that's just antiseptic. They told us all over 4th of July weekend, America 250, if it wasn't for aardvark land, the founding fathers had the little hats when they signed the Declaration of Independence. And so, see, it's just antiseptic Democrat haters, Ro Khanna, like that is what's holding this whole thing up. And Mitch McConnell, is he dead, alive? Who knows? Is his head in a jar? All that really matters is he keeps voting for war, right? Mitch McConnell's absence is throwing Trump's Pentagon budget boost in doubt. Report out of Politico. And so just roll out a dead Mitch McConnell like they did with Dianne Feinstein, have him vote for whatever insane tyranny they want. Senator Mitch McConnell's 3-week hospitalization and uncertain health status is threatening to upend the war budget process at a critical moment ahead of midterm elections. The 84-year-old Kentucky Republican was admitted to a Washington hospital June 14th, and they covered it up as per usual. And we had these fake media, Mockingbird media Republicans yesterday saying, oh, yeah, we had a big, long phone call. He's in great spirits. Total and complete bullshit. His wife has subsequently fled to China. Very bizarre there. McConnell, who chairs the Senate Appropriations panel that controls Pentagon spending, has been a powerful critic of the administration's approach to securing $1.5 trillion boost for the military. His support will be key in moving any funding plan forward, and his absence could stall or kill those hopes. And he's literally a turtle in a jar, but who cares? You know what I mean? Weekend at Bernie's, literally roll a corpse into the Senate, have little strings on them, and when it's time to vote, just raise his hand like that. Yep, more war, unlimited funding for war. Yep, and that's good enough. That it says in the Constitution. It's required by law. Mitch McConnell's head in a jar always votes for more war. Why is Milei's son changing his name again here? Yuri Netanyahu changed his name to Yotan Han. Isn't this antiseptic? I mean, this is pure hate against his heritage. Haaretz reports that tax documents show the prime minister's son changed his name in the last 18 months following previous cases in which Benjamin and Avnir Netanyahu used different names abroad. I wonder why. They're great heroes, patriots. The world loves them. I don't know why they're hiding their identity. It's shocking. I know. Antiseptic. Trigger warning, more antisepticism here. New poll. Aardvark Americans favor Zoran Mamdani more than Bibi Netanyahu or Milei by a whopping 32%. Mediaite posted that. So extreme antiseptic on antiseptic hate here. You can see I'm getting triggered and may have a meltdown. Associated Press and NORC Center for Public Affairs Research released a poll this week showing Netanyahu with a negative 27-point net approval among aardvark Americans, while Mamdani scored a positive 5-point net approval. And so there you go. Pardon the hate. It doesn't get much worse than that. Trigger warning, remove now. I was shaking reading that, just to let you guys know. And some good news here now. Who's this guy? Bruce Blakeman. He's running for governor there in New York. Here's a AI video he put out about the current governor, whole school there. Let's watch this and see if this gets you to vote for whole school. Noticing's antiseptic. Now you're starting to get it.
We provided luxury accommodations for illegal migrants in beautiful hotels just like this. And we raised taxes by $8 billion for the programs that matter, like free healthcare for sex workers and lucrative no-bid contracts to the politically connected. Thanks to our hard work, we're leading the nation in giving foreign companies energy contracts, which means your energy bills go up. But I get invited to all the best donor dinners now. We've raised tolls and fares over 20 times because the best way to fix traffic is to ensure regular people can't afford to drive or take the subway. And we ended cash bail so that we would stop punishing people who commit brutal crimes against our fellow New Yorkers, like this nice young man.
Want some crack?
This November, don't let Bruce Blakeman lower your taxes or make New York safe. Keep it unsafe and unaffordable with Kathy Hochul as your governor.
Well, hell, she's got my vote, and I don't even live in New York. I live in California, but it doesn't matter. Democrats don't care about any of that, right? So she's got my vote. What do they say in the comments? They say, please pray for Mitch. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll pray for him, but seems like he sold his soul to the devil very long time ago. I don't know if he can be saved or even wants to be saved for that matter. And what do they say? If Mitch goes to heaven, I don't want to go. I've had other people say that as well. If MAGA's in heaven, I don't want to be there. That's where we're at. It's a sad state of affairs. Let's pray for Mitch McConnell's head in a jar, that he keeps on being able to vote for never-ending wars. Okay, seriously though, yeah, it's all bad. It's elder abuse, what they're doing, what our government's doing to Mitch McConnell. They do it to all of them. They do it we saw him literally ride Dianne Feinstein to the grave. I believe she had voted in the Senate on the day of her death. You know what I mean? So there's no shame in these criminals and the way they treat the elderly and the way they treat us. They abuse us every day, the American citizen taxpayer. So quite horrific there. And the whole deal with Mitch McConnell's wife being a suspected Chinese spy, and she fled to China like 3 days after he's basically incapacitated. Like, it's just all extremely, extremely concerning here now for him being a top man in the U.S. Senate, controlling a bunch of money for the military. Okay, moving on here to technocracy news. Palantir's politics threaten its contracts. Investors are worried. I don't know why. They just have a maniac Alex Karp going on these cable news shows, just acting like a complete lunatic, saying I love killing people, and it's just on and on. We played the clips of his insanity. I don't know why investors don't have confidence. They literally backdoored the entire U.S. government via Doge. You should have confidence in all the data they were able to steal. Palantir's intensifying political controversies and alignment with the Trump administration are alarming investors. Insiders warn this growing notoriety threatens vital U.S. government contracts, alienates corporate clients, and accelerates a critical brain drain to AI rivals. I don't know where they're getting that. Again, Alex Karp just goes on cable news, acts like a complete psychopath. But besides that, you should have confidence in investing in the all-seeing eye, right? Mounting internal dissent and aggressive political posturing are threatening the foundation of Palantir Technologies. This is a report out of Clash Report. Investors and company insiders warn that the $330 billion data group's increasing notoriety risks alienating corporate clients and imperiling its core U.S. government revenue, according to the Financial Times. And it goes on in this article. I'll link to this article at Weaponized News Substack, or go to Clash Report and you can see it as well. But they go into detailing a little bit more why investors should be concerned about Palantir. Now on to Flock, also part of the surveillance state technocracy Greater North America project they're building out here now. Here's Derek Evans on the encroachment of our natural rights, our Fourth Amendment.
This is crazy, man. All right, they try to tell us that Flock cameras are just tracking license plates. No worries, guys. They're just tracking vehicles, which is bad enough. I don't support it in any way. But look at all the places that Flock cameras have been found. There are no vehicles on these nature trails and wilderness areas, in the pool. We've seen them, in addition to this list, we've seen them at a splash pad for a kid's splash pad at a park. We've seen them at the entrance to a store, which no vehicle could go to. Only people are walking in and out of there. These things are not tracking. I mean, they are tracking license plates for sure. They are tracking vehicles, but they're also tracking people. That's why they call them flock cameras. They're treating us like sheep. They're tracking us. This is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. In my opinion, this is why we're seeing such a huge push and shoving the data centers down our throats. They need more computing power to track more data points of all of us. That's what I believe. It's a mass surveillance state, and we, the people, need to continue speaking out about this, continue educating more people that this is happening. And the good news is, what we're seeing is, as more people find out about this, more people are opposed to it. And so we need to keep making some noise.
So that was a good segue to this next report about the flock cameras. Cleveland organized to get rid of flock and won, but instead of accepting the democratic process, the mayor and city council president forced a revote. So residents are calling out again to testify against AI surveillance. So the government's organized crime syndicate. These politicians acting like your representatives are straight up criminals.
We don't support flock on a whole. Cameras don't prevent crime. As our previous comment I made, we do need to invest in our youth and our cities. There's a lot of complaints in the last week, right? It was really hot. We had power outages. The pools aren't all open. That's the stuff that your residents want. And that would help reduce crime because it gives people a place to go and something to do. They're not frustrated. Why do people commit crime? Because they're desperate. They're not committing crime because they're well off and have a happy life and all of their needs are met. Their needs are not met, and that's why they're committing these crimes. So we need to focus on helping our residents live good lives in this city, and obviously we need to equip the police with resources. But those resources don't need to be for-profit companies' goals to increase shareholder value. That's how a for-profit tech company works. Their goal is to get as big as possible and then either go on the public stock exchange or sell to someone else and make their investors money. We are not their investor. They're not in it for us. We are their products. Our data is their product. And they're not going to always be honest. You cannot trust a big tech company not to lie. We know this from many other big tech companies. It's not a surprise. It's sort of how business works, unfortunately. And so we need to keep them out of our city and focus on nonprofit and government solutions that we control and have access to. And it's just sort of built for the people, by people, for the people. And there's a lot of people in the city that help us do that. I think that's all I got to say. I know I have more time, but I hope you continue to vote no. Again, we already made this vote 2 weeks ago. It's been asked. She to say no. But
And the corrupt government doesn't care. So the one thing that can actually unite America in our heavy division is coming together to fight this technocracy, the Greater North America Project. And a big part of it is these flock cameras. You heard her say, you are the product. You are your data that are collecting on you is the product. The government can't and won't keep you safe. So this whole public safety thing is total and complete bullshit. Our natural rights trump any claim that they're going to keep us safe. Okay. And that's been proven out here now. We go back to, it was Franklin or Jefferson? I can't remember. I think it was Franklin that said, if you're willing to give up, to paraphrase them, if you're willing to give up your liberty for security, then you'll have none. You'll have no liberty. So essentially that's where we're at with this whole claim of, oh my gosh, are you against public safety? Well, yeah. The way you guys are using it, yeah. Because you're corrupt tyrants. Segue now to war on fraud. There's a war on everything. There's a war on drugs. We're in a Cold War against China, Russia. There's a war on fraud. There's a war on you and I, on our natural rights. Of course, the government the only reason we even have a government allegedly is to defend our natural rights. And they work overtime to violate them. So we should, according to the founding documents of this country, abolish said government. War on fraud there with these two fraudsters, Mr. Technocracy. I think he changed his name like 3 times. I guess he's not wearing black eyeliner here, so we should believe him today. Mr. Technocracy, J.D. Vance, and this giant fraud who invited Epstein to a Valentine's Day party, Dr. Oz. They're doing the war on fraud, on Medicare fraud and other healthcare schemes, scams, and fraud. And you go look at what they're taking out these small time crooks. That's good. We shouldn't have fraud in the system, but in the grand scheme of things, where they say $6.5 billion in fraud in the latest indictments, that's like 2.5 days of interest on the national debt. It's literally nothing in the grand scheme of things. To you and I, $6.5 billion is a hell of a lot of money. But when we zoom out and say, wait a minute, what are they even talking about here? 2.5 days of interest on the national debt? Seriously? You saved America? Anyhow, continuing here, doctor with lust for murder convicted in deaths of 15 patients in Germany, sentenced to life in prison. ZBS News reports here now. And so they said, trust your doctor, but a German palliative care doctor accused of killing 15 patients and described by prosecutors as having a lust for murder was convicted today and sentenced to life in prison. Well, in America, he'd be given an award probably and made the head of the CDC. The 41-year-old Berlin doctor, identified only as Johannes M., allegedly killed 12 women and 3 men between September 2021 and July 2024 using deadly cocktails of sedatives. On at least 5 occasions, he allegedly set fire to the victims' apartments to cover up the killings. Presiding Judge Bush said the conviction for 15 murders may well only be a glimpse of his many crimes. Imagine if they ever got around to, I don't know, investigating bat time hospital protocols here in America. Imagine that. We've covered it in great detail here at Weaponized News. Go check out Weaponized News Substack for all of those details about the BAT protocols here in American hospitals. Continuing here. Warning as deadly fungal storms sweep America with toxic dust carrying disease. Giant storms filled with potentially deadly fungal spores are set to sweep across at least 11 states this summer. Meteorologists and health experts have warned the dust storms, in the Southwest will stir up dangerous fungal spores from the soil through September, potentially exposing millions to valley fever. The common illness is a lung infection caused by breathing in microscopic fungus particles called cocoidioids that live in dry soil, frequently blown around by strong desert winds. The spores turn into growing fungal cells that the immune system typically fights off, causing mild flu-like symptoms such as fever, cough, and headaches in most patients, but severe infections can spread to the organs and bones and become fatal. Illnesses could soon skyrocket as the Southwest, including California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas, enters the North American monsoon season, known for major thunderstorms and strong winds throughout the region. And so that's exciting. Another excuse to blame miracle effects on what the hell, it's deadly fungal storms. Nothing to do with any negative effects from a miracle, that's for sure. All right, continuing here. Here's Dems Oversight Committee. It's been 200 days since Trump's DOJ was supposed to release all of the Epstein files. That's right. Your Department of Justice, Todd Blanche, interim acting attorney general, is breaking the law right now, i.e. the government are criminals. He's violating the Epstein Files Transparency Act and a court order from a judge. They don't care. They're criminals. That'll scream law and order in your face all day as well. The height of hypocrisy on top of their criminality, the gaslighting.
The Department of Justice has now released all the files. It should not be a part of anything going forward.
That is all complete BS. We are still waiting for half of the documents we have not received.
We are not sitting on a single piece of paper. Nothing that should be released.
It's a fantasy that somehow the Epstein investigation is either over or a hoax. What it is a cover.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else.
Yep, release them all. We're never moving on. You understand that? Never. 7 years ago, today, Epstein was arrested, and we still don't have answers. That's right. That's right. And by the way, I did a show last week with Drew TV. We did a deep dive into Epstein. That should be coming out, I think this week. I think tomorrow. Anyhow, once Drew TV, he's the producer of Jones Plantation. Anyhow, once that's released, I'll blast that everywhere for those interested. We did a deep dive again into Epstein, documenting the horrors of it all. So I'll be happy to share that with the Weaponized News audience once it's released. Let's see here now. Where are we at on the Epstein reporting? Did we have anything else? On this day in history, Jeffrey Epstein charged with sex trafficking in New York. I think we covered that pretty well. Who is it? Julie K. Brown posted an article on Substack. I wanted to pull out. She's been writing about it for a while. We'll link to her on Substack or promote her or whatever, share it, whatever they say, however you do it on Substack, share, right? Anyhow, the key highlights from her article. What was the title? Yeah, I read you the title. Key highlights from her article are the 2019 charges and arrest on July 6th, 2019. Federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York charged Jeffrey Epstein with operating a vast sex trafficking network. He allegedly sexually exploited and abused dozens of underage girls and women as young as 14 between 2002 and 2005 at his Manhattan and Palm Beach mansions. Now we're coming to learn there's another mansion, or I don't even know if it's classified as a mansion, another property that nobody's even ever looked at in New York as well. We took a look at that yesterday a little bit, but there's a still whole hell of a lot. But the FBI essentially says the case, and the DOJ, case closed, no more investigation. There's plenty more to investigate here. Anyhow, continuing, Catalyst, Miami Herald investigation. They did good work there exposing this at the Miami Herald. Epstein's arrest followed Brown's November 2008 Perversion of Justice series, which exposed how South Florida federal prosecutors granted him a controversial 2008 non-prosecution agreement despite evidence of abusing numerous minors. The reporting spotlighted victims and revived the case. And we know Alex Acosta, the Florida top Florida prosecutor there over the case, said, "It's out of my hands. He's intelligence," right? So speaking to the fact that, yeah, he's above government Rothschild intelligence. We don't know what intelligence he was talking about. Is he working for Mossad, CIA, MI6? Who knows? All of them combined. Above them, Rothschild super spy. Anyhow, continuing here. Political reverberations and Acosta's resignation. The arrest pressured then Labor Secretary Alex Acosta, who oversaw the 2008 plea deal as U.S. attorney there in Florida. President Trump initially defended him, but Acosta resigned amid scrutiny, highlighting how Epstein's powerful connections influenced prior leniency. Broader institutional failures. The case exemplifies ethical, moral, and corrupt backgrounds in government institutions that protect the wealthy and powerful. Even years later, accountability for enablers and accomplices remains incomplete. They made a bunch of inside deals where they didn't even get anything, according to the reporting. They're like, you get immunity, and you don't even have to turn state's evidence or rat on anybody just because you're good. We like your molesting of the kids. No, it's because they're all part of it. The government's a crime syndicate. You see, the Epstein co-conspirators got deals from the government and didn't even rat anybody out. Brown's ongoing work, her 2018 series, was just the start. She has continued exposing how Epstein evaded justice, the roles of accomplices, and systemic protections for elites through books, Substack, and further reporting. Victim-centered impact. Brown's reporting amplifies dozens of victims' voices, ultimately identifying around 80 plus, many from vulnerable backgrounds recruited into pyramid-like scheme. This shifted focus from Epstein's wealth to the human cost and prosecutorial betrayals. Epstein's death and lingering questions. Epstein didn't kill himself. Trump did. Excuse me. Legal and public legacy. The case became one of the most analyzed in U.S. history. It led to Ghislaine Maxwell's arrest, conviction, civil suits, document unsealed, Guffrey versus Maxwell and ongoing demands for full transparency on client lists and co-conspirators. What we've learned, revelations include the scale of trafficking operation, involvement of high-profile figures, intelligence community connections, financial enablers, and how prior investigations were derailed. Remaining mysteries and calls for justice. Key questions persist about full networks of enablers, unprosecuted co-conspirators, sealed or redacted documents, potential intelligence agency connections, and why powerful institutions continue shielding elites. Brown emphasized holding accomplices accountable to prevent future crimes. You think? I have to laugh to stop from crying because the level of corruption is just, the government is an organized crime syndicate, and it doesn't pleasure me to say any of that. It's quite horrifying when you think about it. And then you bring all this up and they just scream law and order in your face and no one's above the law. And it's like, bro, you're breaking the law right freaking now as you're screaming law and order in everybody's face. It's just like, my God, man. All right, let's go ahead and take our live commercial break. Give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. We covered a whole lot of news there in the first hour. Thank you for joining us. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself a holograph sticker. All the colors of the rainbow. Celebrate Pride Month there in July. Weaponizednews.com/shop. We have the holograph sticker, the white background sticker, and the clear background sticker. Weaponizednews.com/shop. Links in the description below this video. We have baseball caps, t-shirts, coffee mugs, shot glasses, as this show may induce heavy bouts of drinking. Weaponizednews.com/shop. We take donations as well. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App links are all in the description below this video. Give us a donation. Help support independent reporting and analysis, brought to you 5 days a week, broadcasting live Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern time. Become a paid subscriber at Weaponized News Substack. We put nothing behind a paywall here. Everything's free. We're trying to spread the information, educate the public, get some hate mail if we're lucky. Everything's free. Show your support for our work, for our efforts. Become a paid subscriber at Weaponized News Substack. We're streaming live on Substack now. You'll get the full show, a summary of the show, and links to almost everything we talk about on Weaponized News Substack. Any which way you choose to support this program is truly appreciated. Thank you very much to the patrons of the store, the donations we received, the paid subscribers and unpaid subscribers. Become a paid subscriber today. It's for the cost of starving a Palestinian. Just kidding. It's we got to have gallows humor here because it's very dark and bleak once we peel back the layers of the onion and see this system for the evil that it truly is. And that's one of the goals of this show is to break. That's a tagline of this show: break the mind control, because there's so many Americans and people around the world that are under mind control, have some idea that these people calling themselves the government give a damn about you or they represent you or something. They don't. They simply don't. And we expose that fact here at Weaponized News every single broadcast. So any which way you choose to support us is truly appreciated. And I hope I can enlighten your day with some of the information that we bring forth here now. Is the goal to break the mind control. So thank you for your attention to that matter. Become a paid subscriber, Weaponized News Substack, weaponizednews.com/shop, and all the donor links are in the description below this video. Thank you for your attention to that matter and bearing with us through that live commercial break. Welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Wednesday, July 8th, 2026 edition. We're now on day 130 of the Iran war. We're bombing Iran right now, and it only seems that it's going to escalate from here, not good at all. Quite horrific, actually. Quite horrific. On to the economic section of the show now. China's residential property prices have effectively dropped back to roughly 2006 levels in real terms, wiping out an estimated 18 to 20 trillion. That's a T. Wiping out an estimated 18 to 20 trillion measured in US dollar terms in perceived household wealth since 2021 peak. And that's according to the Bank of International Settlements. So, wowzers. I guess it all depends on the valuation, right? We're learning that with the fake AI, all the fake AI companies, that it all depends on the valuation. But wowzers. China losing 18 to 20 trillion dollars in perceived household wealth since 2021, according to that report. Meta, Facebook, everybody loves Zuckerberg. It has nothing to do with LifeLog, or it wasn't created by the CIA. He made it in his college dorm room, right? Sure he did. Meta says it faces up to $1.4 trillion in potential penalties in a teen mental health lawsuit, roughly equal to the company's market value. Well, you, again, Facebook, all of them, right? You are the product. If it's free, you're the product, your data. But it was just Zuckerberg made Facebook so you could connect with your grandma, right? And it's nothing to do about data harvesting, social engineering, and essentially mind control. Nothing to do with any of that. Samsung has begun mass production of its most advanced data center storage drive, which is set for use inside NVIDIA's upcoming Vera Rubin platform, according to Bloomberg. They lie a lot, though, too, so keep that in mind. Buyer beware. Sun Valley conference is going on right now. The elites meeting up there in Sun Valley, Idaho. Buyer beware. This is an article out of Variety. They say, buyer beware when Sun Valley has been a disaster for the media business. I'm going to read you a little of this. Sun Valley, the so-called summer camp for billionaires, kicks off this week in Idaho. And though it's unfair to blame the conference for all the problems plaguing the media business, it's not a bad place to start. Hosted by investment bank Allen and Company, the off-the-record confab is famous for spawning some of the most historic mergers of the past 4 decades. Everything from Disney's union with ABC, Capital Cities, to Time Warner's marriage to AOL and Yahoo's sale to Verizon were cooked up on the patio or the coffee shop of the Sun Valley Lodge. So a lot goes on there behind the scenes, obviously, with all these criminals meeting. So something may come out of this. Who knows? What is it? 6? Who knows? How many corporations control the majority of mainstream media? Is it 5 now? 4? Who knows? I haven't looked it up, but there is vertical integration and consolidation going on in the media industry. Remember, it broke big, I don't know, 10, 15 years, probably 15 years ago now. 6 corporations, 6, right? But I believe a lot of movement has happened since then, so it's probably consolidated even further. Continuing in this Variety article, it doesn't matter that many, if not most, of these unions were disasters. Examples of corporations rashly trying to achieve a scale they couldn't sustain or maximize efficiencies they never realized. For some reason, Sun Valley still has an irresistible allure as the once and future home of the next big deal. CEOs fall all over themselves to get an invite so they can be in the room where it happened. Nearly every year, The Variety has revealed the guest list. Someone prominent reaches out to see how they can score a ticket. After all, it's quite the collection of power brokers. Think Davos with a higher average net worth. This year, Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, Disney's DeMauro, Paramount's Ellison, Comcast Roberts, OpenAI's Altman, Apple's Turnus are all expected to touch down in Sun Valley for the better part of a week. And they go through here just detailing a little bit of ins and outs of the meeting. Again, I'll post for those that are interested, or you can just look up what's the title of it, Buyer Beware, or just look up Sun Valley Conference, and you'll find this Summer Valley boot camp for the rich and powerful. They're controlling our lives, the tech bros. Why Sun Valley has been a disaster for the media business. Continuing here, Trump said earlier today, now inflation is way down. It's just not. Trump's in some type of elitist echo chamber bubble. Here on Main Street, inflation's killing us. They don't care. Trump knows he doesn't know. It doesn't matter. I believe he's disconnected severely here now. Trump said now inflation is way down. It's not. Everything is great. It's not. The prices are coming down. They're not. They made up a phony word, affordability. Oil is coming down very big. Brent crude is up today, a reporter said. Every time we hit Iran, oil goes up a little bit. That's all right, Trump said. Just complete bullshit. We've lost confidence here now in the con man Trump. I'm sorry to report at Weaponized News for a very long time here now. This is unusual. Unusual Wales reports. Trump's profiteering off of all this. The most corrupt president in U.S. history. Trump. Before Trump paused tariffs and ignited a historic 10% market rally, his account purchased 327 stocks worth up to $12.8 million. The disclosure came more than a year late. The fine was just $200. It's unusual. Yeah, he's using the bully pulpit of chief executive to rig markets through his speech, through actual policies, through actual laws. And knowing this insider information, front running the effects of said actions. AI costs more than the people it replaced, according to Forbes magazine. We keep reporting here now. The AI hype machine is a total fraud. Foreclosures hit 7-year high as bat relief ends. Here's where default discounts are easy to get. It's from realtor.com. Driven up by the ongoing affordability crisis. Trump told us they made it up, and they did. They just literally pulled that affordability new terminology and narrative out of the rear end. It's called out of control inflation. But affordability crisis. The national foreclosure rate reached its highest level in nearly 7 years, with a handful of smaller markets concentrated mostly in the South and the Midwest now claiming the greatest share of default listings in the United States. Markets with the greatest foreclosure listing shares in June of this year. Everything's wonderful. Don't be a panicking and trust the lying criminal government. There you go. hitting California, not surprising, Louisiana, Ohio. Who's that up there? And the Northeast, as you can see, or I guess some of the north, however you call that area, flyover country. Might as well just bomb them. What the hell? You know what I mean? But anyway, foreclosures there, 7-year high. Everything's wonderful. The Trump effect manufacturing is back. The White House post continuing the technocracy. Apple to invest $30 billion in U.S. chip manufacturing. What a great achievement. Everybody can have a microchip shoved up their rear end. Here now it's good for the economy. Maybe bad for your indigestion, but who cares? More than $30 billion invested in chip manufacturing. U.S. production of 50 billion chips. Hundreds of American jobs. So remember your job when the Terminator stomping on your face forever. Remember that it paid well to sell out humanity to make all these chips. Hope you guys can remember that. This guy's been making the rounds. Ed Zitron. Here he is on a Bloomberg show. We showed him on, I believe, a CNBC yesterday. He just undercut all the AI fraud companies. Let's see a little bit of this interview from Ed Zitron. He seems to be on a roll. He says Anthropic, OpenAI should not be allowed to IPO because they don't make anything. They make fraud is what they make. Let's have him explain a little bit more on Bloomberg here.
They're getting wrong about AI because you've made no secret that you don't see any there.
Yeah. So I think people are conflating a semiconductor rally with an underlying successful business, which doesn't really exist. Anthropic's current revenue growth, which is deeply questionable in the fact that they leaked profitability, manipulated by Elon Musk, of course, their growth is coming because people cannot measure how much an AI task actually costs. And a couple months ago, Anthropic started charging their enterprise customers the actual token rates. What this has led to is suddenly businesses are going, oh, how much money are we spending? I think it was Uber's COO, Andrew McDonald, said that they're having trouble justifying the AI spend based on the actual return. That one can actually measure it. So you've got a thing where you can't measure the costs and you can't measure the return on investment. What do you call that? You call it a thing without an ROI.
Isn't it, though, safe to say, Ed, like, I think about this, I agree, that there is going to be, when there's any new technology, there's a lot of money thrown at something, right? A hot new.
There's no ROI. The company's valuation's $1 trillion. What are you, a panicking? Are you a Luddite against technology? It's just complete and utter fraud in our face. We covered yesterday how they're institutionalizing the fraud, tying everyone's retirement accounts to it. It's wonderful. Trump said, I would be the greatest communist in history. He said this at NATO. I'd be right up there with Lenin. Turns out they're doing a bunch of commie activity, socialist, communist, whatever you want to call it, state-owned enterprises. White House touts launch of 25 Freedom Fuel gas stations. We played the video yesterday. Here it is. So isn't that the definition of communism? State-owned means of production? I believe it is. The Freedom Fuel Network is a private, innovative initiative promoted by the White House Trump administration involving a temporary discount branding at 25 existing independent gas stations, mostly in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey there. The stations are independently owned local businesses that have temporarily adopted Freedom Fuel branding and are offering discounted gas. But I thought we're the #1 petroleum producer in the world. We're being price gouged by Rockefeller oil oligarchs. The Freedom Fuel Network entity itself is a newly registered private company. It was registered on or around June 23rd, 2026 in Delaware, using Corporation Trust Company as the registered agent. This agent has been used by numerous Trump-related entities in the past. So they're blurring the lines here. But yeah, let's just call it straight up communism by Trump. And he says it'd be the greatest communist ever. He's trying to achieve that. They blur the lines here a little bit, though. But yeah, it's more corruption by Trump, trying to smooth over the record high gas prices he's helped create. The Pentagon is running out of money. Defense officials asked for more than $67 billion in supplemental funding, but Congress hasn't approved the money yet, in part because of frustrations over information about the war with Iran. Sources say, that's a report out of NBC. We'll just have Mitch McConnell vote. Weekend at Bernie style. Everything will be wonderful. The Iran war has already cost U.S. taxpayers over $100 billion, and the Trump administration doesn't want you to know. Here's a little breakdown. Here's a little breakdown of some of the war costs here. Estimated U.S. war costs. And we just kicked it up hot and heavy again in the last 2 days. So this is between February 28th and when it kicked off and June 27th. You can see there at the top. Operations, mobilization, administration, combat, $28.5 billion. Weapons, missiles, interceptors, bombs. They do love blowing up all this stuff. $46.7 billion. Losses, damaged or destroyed military assets, $20.3 billion. Subsidies, paying for aardvark land, bombs, interceptors, $2.9 billion. Other costs, war costs to non-military U.S. agencies, $4.8 billion. Cost of the first 120 days of the Iran war, 103.3. You like that? 33. $103.3 billion. Throwing up some Illuminati 33 columns there for you. Here's Democrat Representative Wilkinshaw talking about we can't even afford groceries out here, bro. I'm sure he can, but that is the sentiment, I'm sure, of his constituents.
I think the American people, even maybe folks, especially folks who voted for Donald Trump, felt he's a little bit shady, right? We've known that. But it hits different when you're struggling to put food on the table, gas in the tank, pay the mortgage, pay the rent, and he's making out, taking money hand over fist. They're struggling. He's doing better than ever.
So that's just a panicking, Trump-hating communist, right? Sure. Remember that when you're scrounging around for grocery money. Okay, on to AAA national average for the price of a gallon of gasoline. And guess what? It went up today. Shocking, I know. So yesterday it was at $3.79. Today it went up to $3.80 on average across America, according to AAA. You can see right there. And they're still screwing us over big time in California. Obviously, the difference is taxes and other regulatory environmental fees here in California. So we're getting screwed over big time, but edging up here now toward that $4 threshold. That seems once we cross that, everything goes totally haywire and prices just go through the friggin' roof. We're headed right back there. And we had to bring back the Brown University since this war is kicking off again now on day 130. They seem to have streamed off, but thankfully we got a 666 out of them. Let's take a look. Again, this is Brown University, the Watson School of International and Public Affairs. Let's take a look at their tracker here. And we did get a cool 666. And they're way underestimating here now. I think they fell off when we thought the war was winding down, but a total consumer burden since start of the Iran war on February 28, 2026 is now $600.6 billion. And again, I believe that's way underestimated. I think they kind of fell off on their tracking here, thinking we were going to have a peace deal. So maybe they'll jump back on there, but the classic 666 there. And then you can see $508.63 per U.S. household cost burden spread across both the cost burden of gasoline and diesel. And it's only going to increase from here now. Nearly 6,000 seafarers stranded in the Gulf after recent exchanges in U.S.-Iran attacks. Nearly 6,000 seafarers, or call them seamen, remain stranded in the Persian Gulf following a series of attacks on commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz. International Maritime Organization Secretary General Arsenio Dominguez commented the incidences which occurred over the past 48 hours and condemned the incidences which occurred over the last 48 hours and issued an urgent call for maximum restraint and regional de-escalation. Dominguez stated that these reckless actions have placed innocent crew members in grave danger. His assessment comes as the diplomatic situation shifts following the collapse of the ceasefire agreement between the United States and Iran. Russia bans diesel exports, further tightening the global supply and demand balance for refined products. There's an engineered global fuel shortage, i.e., engineered global famine. That's part of this agenda. Strait of Hormuz shipping update. Commercial traffic holds steady. This is between July 3rd and the 7th. They're claiming here between 35 and 45 tankers were able to transit the strait. 41 yesterday. But I believe it's pretty damn near closed today. This is like, how old? This is like 12 hours old. Continuing here, no ships traveling through the southern Omani corridor since Iran struck 5 vessels in the past 48 hours. Here's what it looks like on the map there in the strait. That's not straight. And I understand that's a geographic term. The U.S. controlled corridor is still empty. So it's essentially closed now again. According to security source cited by Iran's Press TV, Tehran has issued a stern warning that it will close the Strait of Hormuz in the event of any new attacks against it. That was before the current attacks that are going on right now, so it's closed. It's essentially closed now. Again. Greenland not for sale, says Danish Prime Minister as Trump revives annexation threats. And I saw trolls, I don't know who they are, on the internet, on the YouTube, cheering this on. Yeah, steal Greenland. Do you understand? Again. This is the technate. This is technocracy. This is the greater North America. So as you're cheering on, waving your flag, understand what you're cheering for. You're cheering for our section of one world government. That's what you're all about, really? Great MAGA American patriot? Really? Yeah, so Trump's talking about taking Denmark again. Denmark's Prime Minister Fredriksson stated that Greenland is not for sale following Trump's renewed insistence on Washington annexing the Danish territory during the NATO summit. I heard the U.S. president yesterday, and I think the U.S. position is unfortunately very clear on this topic. Our position is also very clear, as it has been all throughout. Greenland is, of course, not for sale, she said. Mette Frederiksen. Here's the prime minister there of Denmark. Continuing here. Turkish President Erdogan. This is a funny one, I thought. Turkish President Erdogan gifted personalized revolvers. It's the guns that with a cylinder, complete with live ammo to NATO leaders at the NATO summit. Keir Starmer couldn't bring his back to the UK because it's illegal. I believe he probably can get around that because they get around everything because they don't follow the same laws that Joe Blow, citizen, has to follow. But anyway, I thought that was a funny report out of the Financial Times. Trump on Turkey. Trump says Turkey is very powerful. It's the second most powerful country in NATO. So he does love to heap praise. He plays a lot of these games.
Have a very strong relationship with Turkey. It's a very big country. It's a very powerful militarily. It's the second most powerful country in NATO. It's a NATO country.
So who's the first most powerful? America, I guess, right? Turkish President Erdogan on Lebanon and Gaza. He said, while one side peace hopes are flourishing, on the other side, attacks on Lebanon, where nearly 5,000 people have lost their lives since March 2nd, still do not stop. People are forced to migrate. Cities are being destroyed. Lebanese territory is being seized step by step. Likewise in Gaza, where 73,000, it's even more than that, right? But that's official, rounding it down. Innocents, mostly children and women, have been massacred. Occupation and oppression continues unabated. Those who see their own security in keeping the region in instability are trying to extinguish even the smallest glimmer of peace. This warmongering mentality, regardless of who it comes from, must not be rewarded. We're looking at you, PM Millet. But of course, old Erdogan has a lot of talk. He's same as Trump, right? Talks out both sides of his mouth and his rear end as well. Strong rhetoric against Aardvark land, though. He has to, right? He has to bring that strong rhetoric, or it's going to piss off the Muslims there in Turkey. Trump cuts off trade with Spain, calls it a terrible partner in NATO. U.S. President Trump said he does not want to continue trade with Spain, accusing Madrid of failing to contribute to NATO and calling it a terrible partner in the alliance. We don't want to do trade business with Spain anymore, but the way I'd like you to cut it up. By the way, I'd like you to cut it up. Spain is a terrible partner in NATO. They don't participate. They don't pay. I don't want anything to do with Spain, Trump said. Trump said Spain was a wasted cause and hostile over its NATO contributions, adding that he wants Madrid to earn significantly less from the U.S. market, cut off all trade with Spain, please, including visits. I don't want to do any more trade with them. All right, take it immediately, he said. We're in a trade war too. We're in a drug war, a cold war, a fraud war, a trade war, a hot shooting war with Iran right now. On and on. Everything about Trump is war, war, war. As he campaigned as the peace candidate, he's a criminal liar. On to Ukraine, Russia here now. Zelensky was at the NATO meeting there. President Zelensky and I just had a news conference with the fake news. It went very well. Everybody's looking for a solution, very positive, on his meeting with Zelensky there at NATO summit in Turkey. Trump also called Zelensky Putin, I believe, a few times here, but we'll forgive him for that. Trump to Zelensky, we are going to give you a license to make Patriots, the Patriot long-range missiles. This way, he can't complain that we are not giving him enough. Make them yourselves, he said. Ukraine reports hitting 21 ships and 53 military targets in 3 days in Russia. Ukraine's unmanned systems forces say they have struck 21 vessels, including 19 Shadow Fleet tankers, while also attacking dozens of military and energy targets across temporarily occupied Crimea and southern Ukraine. They're hitting deep inside Moscow, inside Russia. So as we continue to report, heavy attacks on Russia's energy infrastructure, on their petroleum manufacturing plants. And now we see Russia's pulling back from exports because they're now suffering fuel shortages. A total of 50 energy facilities were targeted between July 1st and July 8th. So in the last week here now. And Russia's pissed, rightfully so. Russia and Ukraine trade major drone attacks amid NATO summit. Just stop it. Stop it. Trump campaigned on elect him and, well, peace in 24 hours. Remember that lie. At least 7 people were killed in Ukraine by Russian attacks, while Ukrainian forces fired over 400 drones into Russia, killing at least 1 Russian civilian there. So it's ongoing. It's escalating. Russia deploys powerful electronic jammers to disrupt Elon Musk's Starlink. Russian forces have deployed advanced electronic jamming systems to disrupt Elon Musk's Starlink satellite network that powers Ukraine's highly effective mid-strike drone campaign. It's not for the children in remote areas to have internet access to help their learning. It's a military weapon that is Elon Musk's Starlink. More from Russia. Kremlin spokesman Peskov said Kiev regime is constantly demonstrating propensity for terrorist acts against facilities of international energy system. Yesterday, Ukraine hit the Blue Stream pipeline feeding gas to Turkey. The goal was to disrupt steady supplies. Repairs are now underway. And he said yesterday, Russia said, their spokesman Peskov said this is full-scale war now in reply to the current and ongoing Ukrainian attacks. It's all quite horrific and escalating. Memes of the day now from the Department of War. Let's take a look. Low-cost containerized munitions program, over $310 million obligated. Pass Recon 3.0. Everything's Operation Warp Speed. I use this for the thumbnail for the show. Stay locked in, Patriots. Who knows? It's probably AI, not even a real soldier at this point. Who knows? And quantum dominance, of course. Quantum dominance. Meme of the day from the Department of War. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. We're bombing the hell out of Somalia. If anybody cared, nobody cares. U.S. launches airstrike in Somalia for third day in a row. Al-Shabaab alleged that recent U.S. airstrikes in southern Somalia hit a residential area. The U.S. has launched airstrikes in Somalia for 3 days straight this month as the Trump administration continues a record-shattering bombing campaign in the country that receives virtually no U.S. media coverage. That's right. We cover it at Weaponized News, and I'm getting this from antiwar.com. They're literally the only ones covering it. You know what I mean? U.S. and they get it from U.S. Africa Command said in a press release yesterday that its forces launched an airstrike against Al-Shabaab on July 5th in the vicinity of the village of Subah, about 45 miles northwest of the port city of Kismayo. As usual, the command offered no other details about the attack. They're literally bombing cavemen in caves, fighting the war, the never-ending war on terror. America, USA, USA, USA. Nobody seems to notice, and nobody seems to care. The July 5th U.S. bombing marked at least the 72nd U.S. airstrike on Somalia this year, on pace to set a record. Last year, in 2025, U.S. AFRICOM bombed Somalia 124 times in 2025. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. So we're in an undeclared illegal foreign war of aggression against Somalia right now, as well as all our other illegal foreign wars of aggression. 8 Iranian military personnel were killed in the overnight U.S. strike. This is the one yesterday. Who knows how many they killed in ongoing bombing campaign right now. The Iranian military said the deaths occurred while defending military sites in Bandar Abbas and Bashar and vowed retaliation. So, yeah, here they are, the dead Iranian terrorist military. And so it's going to escalate now. We showed that one dead U.S. seaman at the beginning of this. They're not even trying to link that to Iran, but it's all part of the same BS. We have no business even being there, but Iran built its country around all our bases in the region. Iranian media released new footage showing the extent of damage U.S. caused to Khomeini's hideout, essentially, his ceremonial venue. We leveled the joint. So no doubt, America can level and blow up a lot of stuff. There's no doubt about that fact. Here's a old man, dead Khomeini's damaged hideout.
این تصویر کدام روز است که بارها آن را شنیدی و دوست داشتی به آن اقتدا کنی؟ ستونهای برجا مانده‌ات مشت گره کرده تو اند که الله اکبر گویان ایستادند. شیطان هنوز فکر می کند که ما از ویرانه ها می ترسیم و خبر ندارد که ترس در دل یتیمان خامنه‌ای شهید جایی ندارد. تو برمی گردی و روزی در تو نماز اقامه می کنی و این تعبیر رویای صادقی است که امام شهیدت دیده بود. تو برمی گردی و روزی در تو نماز اقامه می کنی.
Yep, America blew the hell out of his hideout there. Iranian military says U.S. strikes killed 8 soldiers. We covered that. The IRGC said that its forces hit back at 85 U.S. targets in the region and down to MQ-9 drone. We covered that. And that was yesterday. So it's ongoing right now. Senior IRGC official Razi vows transgressing enemy will be severely punished as Trump bombs Iran again. And that was 3-4 hours ago. So it's just heating up to go real hot and real heavy. Armageddon-like moment in Iran's southern port city of Chabahar as Trump's devastating strikes light up the sky. Maritime traffic control tower reportedly destroyed. Reports of city-wide power outages. Here's a video of that. And you can see their patrol tower there. What do they call it? The maritime traffic control tower. You can see it's been whacked and in pieces. So no maritime control tower there for you Iranians. Little Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. Who knew? He said today Trump informed Congress of his intent to rescind Syria's designation as a state sponsor of terrorism. This historic step opens new possibilities for economic opportunity and recovery, giving the Syrian people a chance at greatness. Well, everybody wants to be under your corrupt fiat debt-based monetary system. So yeah, it's great. But we don't have, but as the America, as the government's weaponized the US dollar and Western banking system, as we continue to report, not today, not tomorrow, but at some point here in the not too distant future, confidence in the system will be lost. When you sanction 40 plus countries, you pissed off 85 to 90% of the world to the point they want to shoot you. Yeah, none of this is sustainable, even at the point of a gun. Huge crowds of mourners in Iraq. They said everybody hates old man evil Khomeini, right? I don't know. Iran forced millions of people, at least hundreds of thousands. We showed the videos of the funeral procession in Iran. And so I guess Iranian tyrannical government pointed guns at all the people and said, go mourn old man Khomeini or we're going to shoot you. I mean, that's U.S. That's what U.S. says. And we trust America to tell the truth, right? But here we see earlier today, large crowds in Iraq. And so Iraq is doing the old funeral procession as well. And so here's a little clip of some of the crowds there in Iraq mourning old man Khomeini. No video, or no audio, excuse me, on this video. We have more shots. Yeah, I thought they switched up the shots a little bit there, but you can see everybody in Iraq hates dude, right? No, these are Muslim religious fanatics, and yeah, we pissed them off really bad, really a lot. There's a couple shots there. I believe we have some still images as well from the Iraq funeral procession. And of course, the Zionists are saying bomb them, kill them all. And it's just like, wow, there's no bottom to the levels of depravity of the Zionists. There's the funeral, the remains. Mourners gather in the Iraqi city of Najaf today for the funeral procession of old man Khomeini there. And that's the rest of his family. That strike, the U.S. assassination killed him, his wife. I forget how many of a couple of their offspring, their granddaughter, I believe, got quite a few of them. Here's some more images of the funeral procession there in Iraq. As you can tell, Iraq hates dude. Right? Nobody even showed up. Iraqi government forced folks at the point of a gun to show up over there to mourn old man Khomeini. Here's more. It went on into the night. And so they're going to take, and U.S. is bombing them during this mourning period for old man Khomeini. And so isn't it wonderful? We have, I don't know, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of Muslims all pissed off now. It's so wonderful. Trump's building a bunker, and the rest of us, Joe Blow's, got targets on our back. Thank you very much. As they wave the red flag of vengeance. Yeah. Iraq agreed to tighten financial controls to stop U.S. dollars from reaching Iran-backed militias after the U.S. paused cash shipments for 4 months. In return, Washington resumed billions of dollars in cash deliveries that Iraq relies on to support its economy. Again, the weaponization of the dollar paying off corrupt puppet regimes and client proxy states. The agreement requires Iraq to crack down on currency exchanges and salary payments that have helped militias access dollars despite U.S. sanctions, according to a report out of the Wall Street Journal. Remember those stupid, remember the scams? Go buy, what is it? The Iraqi dinar. It's getting ready to be revalued, and you're going to become a millionaire. Remember all those stupid fake scams? Remember all that? Yeah. Here's net. Remember we played, what was it, 2 days ago, I believe, Trump put out the stupid AI video. He's a doctor. Old Malay here has put out an AI video. He's a doctor too.
הסימפטומים הם לרוב אובססיה, חרדות וצפייה באולפנים.
Of course, it's in their language, so we can only handle a little bit of that, but you get the picture copying Trump. They probably have the same AI prompter there. Ridiculousness. Our finance minister Smotrich on Turkey and Erdogan. He says Erdogan is a very dangerous man. He has strong rhetoric, but no action, right? Because he has inside business dealings with aardvarks. Anyhow, Turkey, as it stands today, is a very significant threat to the state of Aardvark land, he said. We are conducting very intensive discussions with the president and the administration, and we are working very hard, both publicly and behind the scenes, to try to prevent the sale of F-35s to Turkey. Erdogan must not be given access to game-changing weapons. How do they square all this rhetoric and BS? Turkey is a legitimate member of NATO. Aardvarkland is not. How do we square all this BS? I don't see how they possibly can, but they lie to their own echo chambers here. Trump on Lebanon. Let's hear this nonsense.
With de-nuking Iran, they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. All right, one more question.
Sir, do you think Israel should withdraw troops from southern Lebanon?
Well, I talked to Bibi about that. Yeah, I think they're going to. I think they want to. I don't think it's a question of me. I think it's a question they want to.
They're not. They're not withdrawing any troops. They keep saying we took it to the security loan. They said it before when they started the invasion. We're taking it to the Litani River. They secured all that, and then we're going north. You understand? After midnight, Aardvarkland forces carried out a demolition within the southern Lebanese town of Dari Saria, while simultaneously launching illumination flares over Jabal Ali al-Tahrir. The escalation continued with sustained artillery shelling targeting the outskirts of Napatha al-Fawat, specifically directed toward the May Fadum axis. Those are all different positions that are in Lebanon, right? That as part of the war. Aardvarkland forces carry out large demolitions there in southern Lebanon. Here's the still images you can see. They're leveling the joint, creating apocalyptic hellscape a la the Gaza Strip. Now, this is southern Lebanon. It's ongoing. But sure, they want to leave. They're not leaving Jack. More of the leveling campaign, severe artillery shelling, and reports of a machine gun fire near the town square of Hatatha. They're in southern Lebanon. The aftermath of Aardvarkland demolitions targeting residential homes in the southern Lebanese town of Hola. And you can see leveling the place. Oh, those used to be somebody's house. No, now it's a pile of rubble. And see, they're leveling the whole place systematically now. And they're all up into, here's again, reconnaissance drones being reported all up in Lebanon there. Right over Beirut, all up in Lebanon. Ongoing now. And you're like, but they're still whacking the Palestinians, right, Sam? Sure they are. Sure they are. Terminally ill Carpathian monk leaves behind archive documenting Aardvarkland's war crimes against children in Gaza. An unlikely resistance effort has emerged from a monastery in the Transylvanian Carpathian Mountains, where a terminally ill Christian monk spent his final months documenting atrocities committed against children in Gaza. Well, he's a terrorist, right? The monk, whose identity remains withheld at his request, operated a Telegram channel titled Children of Gaza that meticulously cataloged daily violence. Working alongside a woman named Sally, he compiled thousands of instances of abuse, channeling the data to the Aardvark Exposed X archive to ensure the evidence reached a broader audience. The monk sought to dedicate his remaining time to opposing what he viewed as the gravest crimes against children in the modern era. While he did not live to witness the public impact of his efforts or the subsequent launch of the archive's new platform, his work now serves as a definitive record of the genocide. Archive staff confirmed that he passed away due to his illness without knowing that his silent labor had gained significant international attention. The archivists behind the archive say that in honor of his contributions, they released images of the remote monastery where the project was headquartered. The publication of this archive follows a period of verification by the team, which began investigating the source months ago. After discovering the channel, those behind the project expressed their gratitude for the monk's dedication and his commitment to exposing the genocide in Gaza. Here's some images of the monastery of this Christian terrorist monk documenting the genocide of children in Gaza. Quite a monastery there. I'm sure Aardvark Land will be bombing it soon. Maybe America. What the hell? According to this from the Cradle, and they say, according to sources in the Gaza Strip, Aardvark Land occupation forces have killed at least 8 Palestinians, including children, and wounded more than 10 across the Gaza Strip since dawn today. 6-year-old Abd al-Rahman Badwan was shot and killed in cold blood by Aardvark occupation forces in Gaza City. And there's an image of him dead. It's a dead kid, 6-year-old. What do you even say, man? It's just evil. Pure evil. Aardvark Land attacks across Gaza have killed at least 10 Palestinians, including multiple children, since daylight this morning. And they go through in here and document all of the killings. And there's photographic evidence of the dead bodies. I'll pass on showing it to you. I'll put the links at Weaponized News Substack for those interested to see the martyrs here of the genocide. They're bombing refugees in tents. It's an ongoing campaign against the Palestinian refugees seeking shelter in tents. And Aardvark Land drone strike targeting a tent sheltering displaced Palestinians south of Kianis in southern Gaza has killed 4 people, including a 10-year-old child, and wounded others. Here they are. Their tent got whacked by a drone strike, literally bombing refugees in tents, killing a 10-year-old child here in the most recent attack. The Palestinian Health Ministry in Gaza said 8 Palestinians were killed and 17 others wounded over the past 24 hours as a result of Aardvark Land attacks on the Gaza Strip. The ministry added that the number of victims remain trapped beneath the rubble and on roads inaccessible to ambulances and civil defense crews since the October 11th ceasefire, 1,084 Palestinians have been killed, 3,491 wounded, and 799 bodies recovered from the rubble. Illegal aardvark land outposts control 1/5 of the occupied West Bank. Aardvark land illegal settler outpost, i.e., ultra-Zionist outpost, now dominate nearly 1/5 of the occupied West Bank. Two aardvark land NGOs said yesterday, describing the current situation as an acceleration of de facto annexation plans. The Peace Now and Kareem Navat NGOs wrote in a report concluded in May and released to the public earlier this month, yesterday, that the unprecedented settler expansionism is being directly backed and encouraged by Shadow President of America, your hero and mine, Prime Minister Millet there. Aardvark settler outposts currently effectively control more than 1,070,000 dumas of land, approximately 18% of the occupied West Bank. And it goes on in this report to document the takeover, the de facto annexation. They're taking all of it, as they say, and we continue to report here. It's no mystery, okay? Ben Gvir, Smotrich. I don't know if Kat said it. Bibby, maybe Bibby. I don't know, but I know Ben Gvir and Katz have said it, or Smotrich have said it over and over and over and over and over. Again. We're taking all that land, you see, because you're a damn terrorist. And we have the Greater Aardvark Land Project to fulfill, you see. And so it's ongoing de facto annexation of the occupied West Bank. Of course, all illegal, all crimes against humanity, all war crimes. It doesn't matter because ultra-Zionists get a pass. Don't be an antiseptic critic of genocide. All right, that's all the reporting I got for today. Let's go ahead to Iran International, see the latest headlines. Have we whacked any big Iranian leaders in the last couple hours here? U.S. launches new strikes on Iran over Strait of Hormuz attacks. Ghalibaf, that's Iranian Speaker of the Parliament, says Strait of Hormuz will reopen only on Iran's terms. It's closed. Essentially closed. There 20%, estimated 20% of world trade goes through there. So, yeah, everything's wonderful, according to Trump. Iran Parliament Commission spokesman vows hard slap over U.S. attacks. U.S. strikes hit 2 railway bridges in northern Iran, back to targeting civilian infrastructure. And I already know we're going to say they were using that for military transport as a military target. So we'll follow up on those reports tomorrow, obviously. Iran says U.S. projectiles hit military base in Bashar. Qatar raises security threat level, urges residents to stay indoors. And Trump can't even fly his $500 million Qatari plane back from NATO due to security concerns. But MAGA says everybody against Aardvark genocide's a Qatari agent. I don't know. More of this disconnected thinking. How do you square those circles? Your daddy, as they call him at the White House, and the MAGA sycophants. How do you square that circle that everybody you disagree with is a Qatari agent when your boss is literally flying on a $500 million Qatari jet gift? They don't care. It's just idiocy, you see. It's just idiocy. Everybody that I disagree was a Qatari agent, not the guy that just got a $500 million jet from him, though. He's daddy, according to these clowns. Okay, continuing here to wrap up this show, Al Jazeera, latest headlines, sirens in Bahrain, Kuwait after U.S. launches deadly attacks on Iran. Air raid sirens are blaring in the region. What kind of response is expected from Iran? It's getting ready to crank up, back and forth, hot and heavy here now as we await a response from Iran. What they claim yesterday, target 70 plus U.S. targets. So a bunch of more targeting of United States assets in the region, I suppose, and probably targeting Aardvark land as well here now for their efforts. Let's pray for peace. It's not working out here on day 130 of the Iran war. It's not really working out so great. Heading over to the channels now, heading over to Odysee. See if we have any chat going over there. Shout out to the Odysee audience. Thank you guys for tuning in. I see Jim Pink. Jim got his name. He put his name. You never had your name there before. Shout out to Jim, Highland, Pink. They say, isn't Jared Kushner some random cunt? It's the son-in-law, and apparently high up in the whole power structure of these criminals. I was out working in the yard today. I had no idea all this was happening. The world turning upside down and all. Shout out to Jim. That's what we're trying to inform you here at Weaponized News. Thank you guys for tuning in. For Scully says, great news, everyone. I had WADOL clear that impromptu suspension yesterday. Glory to Father God. No more court. Praise God. All right. Good news there for Scully. Thankfully, I don't know the whole situation, obviously, but thankfully it seems like your troubles there are clearing up. So we do praise God for that. Thank you very much. And for letting us know about that. And shout out again to Pink Vegas there. Thank you guys for tuning in and chatting it up on the Odysee. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on X, Kick, Facebook, Substack, Bitchute, Rumble, and YouTube. Now let's head over to, I can only go like halfway up, guys. Quite a bit of chats going on. I'm about halfway up. We'll stop at Mac. Shout out to Mac on the YouTube. He says, for $1.5 trillion, we could have groceries delivered by pet androids. We could do a lot with $1.5 trillion. But what the hell? We have Iranian terrorists to kill and a military industrial complex to feed. Let's see, Oliver on the YouTube. I will pray for the people to amen. Ralph says, always remember AI can't vote or buy your products or services. Lake of Fire, not Lake of Fire. AI robot seems demonic. Shout out to Silver on the YouTube. Says Silver says, word on the street is China behind Australia's biggest telco outage. Bah. Shout out to Ruckus. He came in late. Shout out to Barto. Don't forget, Barto says he's talking to AT&T. He's talking to Denver on the Rumble. He says, don't forget AT&T. They have routed all their digital traffic through Aardvark land since 9/11. via U.S. Patriot Act. Sickening. Remember to clear your browser history every day if possible. Waze map nav software in Aardvark land also. Use it and be sure they are tracking and archiving your movements. It's for safety there, Bart. It is ever so mildly traumatizing, Max says. Indeed. Shout out again to Fat Bob on the Rumble there. Pero on the Rumble Geostorm. The only one who cares about bombing Somalia is Ilhan Omar. Does she care? I don't think she even cares, but Pero says for education, my ass, for worldwide indoctrination, more like it. Ad on the YouTube says Trump is failing as he hinders other nations' growth and starving them each day of hindrance to Buddhist nations indirectly is a grave sin as it hinders spiritual alms giving. In my opinion, America started this never-ending war. Well, hell yeah, we started it. Fat Bob says, I asked the essential Paul Craig Roberts question, why Iran not pulled the trigger on all of Aardvark land. That is a good, because it certainly appears at the very top level, they're all in it together, working through secret societies, a la Operation Lockstep. Well, Joe Blow American, Joe Blow Iranian, Joe Blow Aardvark, we all suffer the consequences. Never-ending vengeance. Fat Bob said, thanks for sparing us, Bibby. Well, he was, we couldn't even understand him. He had all that phlegm in his throat, all that baby's blood in his throat, right? We couldn't even understand him. So we couldn't play that clip. Denver was out and he came back. Shout out to Denver. Let's see. Denver says, oh, I bet AI and its backers can vote. And we'll last two here. Denver says Trump is the guy building the new world order by destroying America's world order. How is this not understood? Good point. They're building the greater North America. How is this not understood? The Department of War says as much for those paying attention. And then we have to wrap it up here with some comedy from Fat Bob. Ha ha, hawk to and we'll wrap it up there. It's not looking good here. Things are escalating all over the world. India, Pakistan, Russia, Ukraine, America, Iran, Aardvark land, Lebanon, and Gaza. It's all escalating, all quite horrific. Let's pray for peace. As always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Wednesday evening. And we'll be back here on Thursday, hopefully with Ruckus for more.